Shadow Show.
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 Shadowing it.
Amin isn't really a morning person totally, so when he hits me with a burst of enthusiasm and burger breath, saying yesterday was National Burger Day, it startles me because I'm not used to this early in the morning Amin having fire yet. What did you do on National Burger Day? Because my father celebrates National Burger Day. He informed me yesterday that you could get a 1 cent bacon cheeseburger at Wendy's with any purchase for a penny. And as we learned yesterday, a penny costs more to make than it does to spend. It costs almost 3 times as much to make a penny as it does to have a penny have any value.
Which means technically that burger costs $3 billion, according to Greg.
That's right, according to the mathematics of Greg Kabuki, the Greg Kabuki. But what did you do to celebrate Burger Day?
So my buddy Antoine told me, hey, a lot of places are doing 2-for-1s. Should look it up. So I looked it up, and sure enough, there was a burger joint that was doing 2-for-1s. I got 2 burgers and a milkshake. And I said, maybe this is too much food at midnight. But I said, you know what? It's National Burger Day.
Now, put it on the poll, Juju, please. Is 2 burgers and a milkshake at midnight too much food?
What constitutes a purchase? Like, can I just go in there and be like, I would like a side of ranch, please? And it's like 25 cents, and it's like, all right, give me my junior bacon cheeseburger.
You think you can? There are probably rules. We should have tested it yesterday. We should have sent you in trying to do it.
The cheapest thing I can find.
Yes. I would have assumed, without reading the fine print, that you have to buy something that's at least worth as much as what the bacon cheeseburger would normally be worth.
You know what the end around for that is? You say, I'd like 1 side of ranch, please. I'm like, oh, here you go. Go, just take it. Like, no, I want to pay for it.
How much?
By the way, when I ask you at the window for an extra side of ranch, don't tell me it's 19 cents. Like, give me the side of ranch.
Does that annoy you more at a fast food joint or like a regular wing joint? Because if I order 10 wings, and nowadays 10 wings is like $20, and I use my little ramekin of ranch, give me more goddamn ranch.
Yeah, I think if you are...
No more charge.
If you are anything more than a fast food place, like, get a grip. I get it. You don't want people abusing it. But if someone's just asking for 1 more ranch or 1 more blue cheese, just give it to them.
There's no middle ground with fast food places. They either charge you for every single one, or they will take a handful and like throw you 72 ranches.
Because that's all about the manager. If your manager's up your ass about it, look, there's the places where they charge you. These are poor, these frontline people, man. They don't want to have a hard time.
They just act like they're coming out of their check or something.
They
right?
are,
Like,
it
I
is.
asked the waiter, I'm like, hey, can I get an extra ranch?
Oh.
And it's the one that has like the Ken's ranch that has like the peel-off foil on the top. And he's like, I'm like, buddy, it's 1 ranch. It's 19 cents. Like, what are you giving me that for?
If you got a waiter, nah, man, you cannot be treating your customers like that. If you're a fast food place, I get it, because then, like I said, if the manager, the owner has it, then they're doing all types of accounting and stuff. Like, wait, man, we lost $17 this month. What happened? Well, Tony's been giving out ranches left and right like they're popcorn.
Old burger breath, Jeremy, who just whispered in my ear, I interviewed Jake Berger for Burger Day.
Oh, God.
Available now on Miami
Get
Ranked
out,
Up.
Jeremy.
Yes.
Wherever
let
you
me
get your
see
podcasts.
here. Well, we're shorthanded today, so to send him out is going to cost us.
Delayed penalty, maybe?
More than a penny.
I mean, I get to talk baseball.
No, well, I do need you to talk baseball, but nobody here wants to talk baseball, which I'm pretty bothered by.
Nobody ever wants to talk about what I want to talk about.
Yeah, so...
Minor penalty, 2 minutes, asshole.
Fair.
Yeah, but it's said incorrectly. It should be 2 minutes, asshole. It's not. The penalty should be for being an asshole. It's not 2 minutes, comma, asshole.
Call him an asshole, right?
That's right. Like the phrasing on this isn't correct.
We need a pause.
A comma. We need a comma, so it doesn't sound like it's just someone penalizing him for being an asshole by calling him an asshole.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat from the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Dress too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for war, man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but minds keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. Right there's better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
If you've been listening here for a while, you know that I am fascinated by everything happening in the business of sports content, at least in part because I'm not retired right now, because what Meadowlark Media is doing is trying to compete in the space of sports media content. I can't help but find it fascinating when ESPN turns into a bit of a frat house where on Monday Night Football they're saying tits and again, and Pat McAfee is getting drunk in Ireland, and Shannon Sharp has a sex tape. It's a super interesting time to see what happens when athletes converge on what used to be a journalistic space and kick down the door on, we're here now, and McAfee goes begrudgingly to a meeting on campus with journalists he doesn't like and that he says don't like him, because, of course, the athletes are a threat to everything that's been the standard in this industry for a while.
To be fair, McAfee is one down in terms of journalists he doesn't like who don't like him. You don't have to worry about that anymore.
How do you mean? Oh, because he knocked out Woj, and he knocked out Woj while using Shams, which was interesting. And Woj has Pitaro as a giant ally. I mean, he's got the president of the company is responsible for everything that's happened with Woj, and McAfee was using Shams, his nemesis, on ESPN in the afternoon when, and Amin left this part out. A lot of people don't know this, and it's a little early for it because we're celebrating the pioneering career of Woj. But Woj was really vindictive about how he carved out the space on ESPN for where it is that people would and could be used around basketball, and he consolidated all of the power. I'm saying that, not Amin. I know that because I've talked to too many people at ESPN who were afraid of falling on the wrong side of Woj.
Also, it's never fun when you find out where in the pecking order you are. You think you're number one, and then all of a sudden someone walks in and says, hey, I want to put Shams on my show every week, and you can't do nothing about it, and your big brother can't do nothing about it. That's got to be a jarring situation.
Imagine that, okay? Just in the minutia of silly sports media stuff. Woj's ally is the president of the company, but McAfee's got the relationship with Iger. That's the head of Disney, and McAfee had to get in there and be rented, not owned, under the understanding, because he cares deeply about his audience and not changing because Disney makes him change. So he says, I'm going to do it. You got to let me do it the way that I want to do it. You got to let me curse. You got to let me do the things I want, which include Shams, Woj's nemesis. When Woj was controlling where everybody was, like, don't get this part twisted. If people were appearing somewhere on the network, Woj had a hand in how it is that was happening.
And the opposite. If people weren't appearing on the network, there was that too.
That part's more damning. Isn't it? Like, I just feel like it's the first part what Dan said, that's kind of normal, I think, of like creating opportunities for people. It's the
removal of opportunities,
yeah, that's
the suppression of opportunities. Yeah,
it's real power. Okay, Woj was a power broker, Pitaro's a power broker, McAfee's a power broker, and Iger is the biggest of the power brokers. But the reason I bring all of this up, okay, as we all compete in this space, and I know you guys get tired of me talking about it, but as I said, it's been a singular obsession. I've never cared about the business of money before this, because I just wanted to speak at the microphone and do the writing, but now we're responsible for trying to compete in the space, and we're trying to do it by doing it differently. But Kurt Warner said this on Monday, and I want to, after football games, and this is the part that I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about documentaries, too, as I see that Oprah and Apple are fighting, and she just bought back. She didn't like the documentary that Apple was doing, so she just bought it back from Apple. And
must be nice.
Yeah. Kurt Warner says on Monday, I've been grinding tape since 8 p.m. last night, and I have gotten through 10 games. How do all of these people talk about these players and teams on a Monday as if they've watched the games and really can evaluate them? Can you guys share your routine so I can see if it's more efficient? And then Ryan Fitzpatrick gets in with, I would recommend a healthy dose of Red Zone and Stephen A. Anything more than this, and you're wasting your time, Kurt.
It's a great tweet.
I mean, this part is interesting to me because Kurt Warner is unbelievably meticulous about what his analysis is going to be, and he's going to be careful about criticizing people because he lived it, and he wants people, if they're going to criticize, to be informed and not be flippant. But the grand majority of most football coverage on television on Mondays is less informed and prepared than Kurt Warner's, but we got to go to market. And so not everyone's breaking down game tape. And what do you do with what it is that Kurt Warner is saying there? Because he's trying to play the game fair, but that's not what's going to get rewarded. It's not going to. ESPN has Orlovsky. They have NFL Live. They have Ryan Clark doing some film breakdown. McAfee does a ton of it because people do like film breakdown. But he's not wrong when he says this is a super complicated sport. And in order to analyze it correctly, you got to be thorough, and you can't do it on all of the games on Monday morning.
So Dan, let me tell you. So first and foremost, it always blows my mind. Whatever your sport is, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, or whether you are a generalist, a sports generalist, right? The people who said, I had Bucks Raiders on that screen, and you're full of shit. There's no way you can watch multiple games at the same time and be detailed and nuanced.
Correctly.
You can watch it, popcorn and beer, sure. Wings and beer. Oh my God, he just had it. You can do that. You cannot watch and retain information and nuanced information to do the job.
But you're talking about this the way that you watch basketball. You and I watch basketball differently. You're sitting there watching every possession, and you're doing analysis on adjustments that I'm not doing. I am doing popcorn and a drink. I'm not analyzing what has Spoelstra done in this timeout while I'm watching 4 other basketball games.
So when you put that in that perspective, Dan, if you are watching, and this is why it always tickles me when people watch general sports shows. What Kurt Warner's talking about, he's talking about NFL specific, and we'll get to that in a second. But people who watch First Take, Undisputed, those kind of shows, and then yell and argue about what Stephen A. or Skip or Shannon says, do you think these people watched every single sporting event with a keen eye and and nuance and with the DVR pausing?
Well, I do wonder though. I wonder what the audience, given the power.
There's a difference. That's what I'm building to. Is there's a difference between a general sports analyst and a sports-specific analyst.
There's a difference that you're making that I don't think the audience is making. I believe the power of television is such that if there's expertise being blown in my face on television, that especially if it's morning television, especially if it's the audience that has historically been around morning television, which back before the pandemic wasn't working. During the day, was at home instead of being somewhere that they had to be working. Those people were watching sports, and I don't believe they're making the distinction that you're making between Stephen A. says this and Kurt Warner says that. They might say Kurt Warner knows more because he's a quarterback, but they're not going to say Kurt Warner's analyzing that game because he's breaking down tape in a way that Stephen A. Smith isn't. I don't believe those are distinctions being made by an audience.
I think the other thing, too, is when you look at those morning day television parts where people don't want to hear a cover 2 shell breakdown, right? Like, you want to hear the headlines of the day. You're tuning in to hear, the Cowboys lost 45-19. What's happening with Dak? Did he deserve the money that they gave him at the beginning of the season? It's hard to break down nuance, like, the corner was shading to the inside here. That's why he was able to beat the man on the, like, those kind of things are tough to digest early in the morning, if at all.
No, absolutely. Like, that's a morning show. No one's coming for hard analysis. They're coming for just get me caught up on everything that happened last night because I went to bed early, right?
Is Kurt Warner attacking like Stephen A. here, or is he attacking fans?
He's not attacking. He's asking. He's almost not like, bless his heart, He's like, how is everyone else doing this? Am I doing this wrong?
Well, I think he's being sarcastic.
Well,
I think he's seeing a lot of bloviating on television and saying these people are giving very strong opinions without being as informed as I am about the opinions that they're
It's
giving.
an obnoxious tweet from Kurt Warner.
He's no, guys. You got this all wrong. Kurt Warner's a nice guy, man.
I know he's a nice guy, but he's being like, it's kind of like we did a thing here when we went out to Dolphins training camp a few years ago. For the next 3 weeks, we were all just like, I was out at camp, and whatever I say after that, just that's what he's doing here. Like, all right, I just want everyone to know I'm watching all these games. Like, we get Dan Orlovsky does this stuff too, where he posts a video. He's just like, just so you know, I've been diving into the tape here. It's like, you're watching a little tape, okay? You don't need to overstate it. They're just shoving in our face. We get it. You're smarter than us, Kurt Warner. We get it. You know football. Like that. That's really what he's doing there. He's like, I know. I don't know what everyone else is doing, but I'm watching every game, every play, and it's like, we get you.
I don't know why you guys are getting a Kurt Warner here, man. He's a nice guy. They made a movie about him.
I like Kurt Warner. I'm just saying. This is a look at me Louis tweet.
I don't know if you do.
This is a look at me Louis tweet. This is
talking.
him saying, I watch tape and the film better than everybody else, as you should. Look at me Louis. It's like, yeah.
You co-signing this nonsense?
Well, you keep coming back with Kurt Warner's a nice guy,
He's a
which
nice guy.
no one disputes.
Too sweet to be sarcastic.
Too sweet to be sarcastic.
I don't believe that was a genuine question that he was throwing at the internet. Please, internet, help me be more efficient at how I study football. Please teach me, Juan Lemonface 46534. Are you breaking down more film than I am?
And Ryan Fitzpatrick in that tweet, like, he senses what I got. So he's like, let me give him a little something here. Like, oh, you're going to be, like, we get you, Kurt. You're watching all the film.
Sarcastic asshole, Ryan Fitzpatrick. There you go. See, that answer,
That was sarcastic.
That was sarcastic.
One of the frustrations that I had as I came up in the business, is that I was perpetually explaining to people the difference between a beat writer or a reporter and what it is that I was doing as a columnist. Mm-hmm. I always had to explain it, and people's eyes would glaze over. The beat reporter is interested in news, in facts. It's not about analysis. It's not about opinion. Mm-hmm. I was explaining this all the time, and I might as well have not been, because it didn't matter that I was explaining it to athletes and everyone else alike. I don't believe that when people are consuming most sports coverage that they're being any kind of discerning. They're just trying to rest their mind, and maybe something on the television is interesting or entertaining, but they're not making much of a distinction, I don't think, between the generalist, as you said, because it's not possible for Stephen A. Smith to know everything about everything. It's not possible to be one of the, I know he sounds like it, but it's not possible to be somebody who is thoroughly informed on all the sports the same way. There's a reason that there are experts. Ariel Helwani can exist in one sport.
Right.
He can, and he's talented enough to do that in a couple of sports, but he can't do it in all sports.
No. It's like when Adam Schefter was doing sideline NBA games. I was like, look, there's no shortage of people that we have at the network who are qualified, who have done this job, who want that job, who want more opportunities, more reps at that job, and because Adam Schefter played fantasy basketball with Chris Paul or whatever, fantasy football with Chris Paul, he's like, I kind of got into this NBA thing. I want to do this sideline stuff. I'm like, you're demeaning the position. Like, this isn't like just something that anyone walks in and does. This is something that requires an acumen, connections, and of a dedication to it. So, I would propose to you right now, we can define all the different roles, right? You have a show host, a studio show host. Their job is to make great television. How do I keep the conversations balanced? How do I get all the voices in there? When do we move on to the next topic? All right. So think of your Chris Fowlers. Think of your Mike Greenbergs. That's
Stugotz's.
Your Pablo Torres.
Right. Sure.
Why'd you roll your eyes at Pablo Torre?
This guy. Does he really move on to other topics?
He's one of the star hosts of Meadowlark, and you're sitting there mentioning all the other people at other companies.
I'm always smiling.
I'm too sweet to be sarcastic, Dan. All right, so next you have your analysts. Now, analysts come in different flavors. You have your former athletes, you have your former coaches / front office people, and then you have people who have been reporting and digging into this area for so long that they've almost like in the newspaper version, they've graduated from beat writer to columnist. So Stephen A. Smith would be an example, right? Stephen A. Smith anytime anything NBA happens, it's not just because Stephen A. Smith is a magnetic personality. It's also because he has bona fides. He covered the NBA for a very long time. He is very connected in that world. So when he sits down in an analyst seat, that's why he gets to do that. Max Kellerman on boxing, right? He is so deep and connected in that world. Even though he is not a former boxer or a boxer training or whatever, we accept that his knowledge is so deep and runs back so far that he can sit in that analyst seat, right? Then you have reporters. And these are your newsbreakers, your Schefters, your Passons, your Chris Hayneses, your Shamses. These are the guys that are going out there, getting information, and then breaking it to us. When Shams tells us something, when Chris Haynes tells us something, when Jeff Passan tells us something, 99% of the time.
It's always right.
Not only is it right, why is it right then? Because they're not telling you their opinion. I'm not telling you, I think it's going to be 92 degrees today. They're telling you, I just checked the thermometer, it's 92 degrees right now. That's what they're telling you, which is different from me and you saying, I think it's going to be hot today. We've had a crazy hot streak the last week.
You're making distinctions, though, that I believe the average person watching sports television is simply saying to themselves, I could do that. I have had no training in any of these things. I can do every one of those jobs that's being done up there. Maybe some of them are saying I'm too shy to do it. But that I don't believe that they believe that there's any special training that goes into much of anything that is on television when it comes to sports expertise.
I had this conversation with a comedian buddy of mine, right? We were talking about podcasts, like the people who do podcasts who are funny on podcasts but are not comedians, and how they react to the backlash when something goes wrong. And I was saying to him, I said, the reason why is because you guys, you comedians, you are used to, hey, I went up on a stage with a microphone and I said stuff that the crowd instantly did not like. Either didn't think it was funny or thought it was offensive or whatever. And you got to navigate that. And that's your life as a comedian, right? Whereas people who are funny on podcasts, again, you're not looking at an audience. Even right now, we're one of the biggest podcasts in the world. I don't see millions of listeners. I see cameras. I see Jeremy. I see Chris. I see you. I don't see the people who are listening and watching to this on YouTube.
You'll hear from them later.
I'll hear from them later, but I'm used to it, right? I'm used to people not liking, not agreeing. If I'm a host of a podcast that's popular, gaining popularity, and I say something and people say, wait a second, I don't like that thing, all of a sudden I'm getting this negative feedback that I've never gotten in my life at this scale. And so I don't know how to handle that. They think it's easy to sit here and speak in the mic and be interesting and funny and insightful every time. It's not, but it looks easy. You know why? Because we're fucking good at it.
Everyone thinks they're a showman. Where's my camera? Until the lights are on, until the bright lights turn on, and then you choke. You can't do this.
I saw Roy Wood's new show. It's exceptional.
Yeah.
It's got range, and it's really hard to do what he's doing and make it look as easy as they make it look, to have a space between smart and dumb, a range. It's uncommon. What is the name of the show? Because it's only had one episode, and it's something along the lines of "I've got news for you." But I love that, Bill Maher tackles it one way, John Oliver tackles it another. The way that he is getting people informed by bringing them into a circus tent where a bunch of comedians are talking about the news of the week and downloading everybody on what's happening in America with information that's funny but also informative. It's hard to do all of that. And in their first show, at least, and I'm assuming it will grow, it was excellent.
It's called Have I Got News For You. And the other thing about that show, John Oliver's show, and indeed any general sports show, right, that the part that people don't understand also is those shows all have armies of researchers.
Damn right.
Their hosts are getting handed stacks of information. Mike Greenberg would walk, we could make as many jokes as we want about Greeny.
He's excellent at hosting.
Greeny would get a dossier this big every morning about everything that happened in sports, and he's thorough. He goes through it, and so when he sits in that seat and he talks, and he's tossing from topic to topic, he may not have watched any of it, but he's got a playbook of information that he has processed and is now regurgitating very expertly, which again is not an easy job.
You say this. I want to ask you guys this question. Everyone listening to this and everyone watching this. Yes or no? You believe they think they could do Greeny's job? Yes or no? Because I believe the grand majority of people listening to this think that it's just sitting up there and there's not an actual skill to it, that it's just finger guns. I can't explain to you how bad Stugotz would be at the hosting job, even though he thinks he would be great at every job in sports media. He would be so very bad at it because he would just overlaugh every time he got nervous and not realize, no, you got to carry it here. This is something that you can't just laugh and sink into the laughter.
He would be so chummy, too, with, like, the former athletes. It would just be like a chuckle fest between everybody. And
But you would crush it, Dan.
I have been a host. I wouldn't be a host at one of those shows. I wouldn't be good at one of those shows. I'm not particularly good at television. I'm just okay at television. Like that's a different skill set. It's all of these are different skill sets. What are you shaking your face about?
Yeah, it feels a little fake humility there. Like I'm not even that good.
No, I don't think I'm that. I think I'm just okay at television.
Dan, you sound like when we told Tracy McGrady you're going to be a Hall of Famer, and he's like, "Really?" Tracy McGrady, until they announced, had no idea he was going to go to the Hall of Fame.
I don't have any training in television other than doing television.
That's
like I
most
have
of the people on
but
TV.
No, but I'm saying I came up as a writer. That's not most of the people on TV. There are plenty of people who have training in what it is that they're doing. You're the anomaly, not most people. You didn't have training and I didn't have training. That's what do you mean? How do you not understand that this is something that people train for?
You just did what we were just spending the last 20 minutes saying the audience doesn't understand. You just said, I could do that. Those people don't have training. What? You just spent 15 minutes explaining to everybody what the different roles are.
I'm different.
The single hardest thing of all the things we've talked about is probably that driving, right? The Ernie Johnson, the Mike Greenberg, the host of those pregame shows, because you got to keep it flowing without it seeming too herky-jerky.
I don't know. It's good. They all got their own difficulties, right? It's kind of like, hey, at what age is it easiest to be a parent? Like when your kid is a baby, when your kid is a toddler, when they're in high school. It's different. But
what is the answer to that? What is the answer?
There is no answer. The answer is it's always hard. It's just different kind of hard.
After 18 has to be the easiest time to be a parent.
No, because at that point, you really can't tell them shit. And yet, like, you still will always feel that, no, but I'm your parent. You think, I talked to you about this, I don't know if it was on or off the, it was when we were Pablo, and I said, the way sometimes you talk to and about your dad makes me want to slap you. Like, how dare you, man? What do you think this guy thinks? You think this guy looks at you as Dan Le Batard, this master of an empire? No, he looks at you as like, little Daniel, talking shit back to me. Are you kidding me?
The easiest part to parenting, the easiest window is like 3 months to 7 months. Because like the first 3 months, they don't sleep. It's like crazy sleep schedules. Once you get them on that sleep schedule around 3 months, before they're lifting their neck up, they just go wherever you put them. Like, just plop them down. They'll stay right there. If they cry, feed them. That's it.
First of all, you don't know why they're crying. Sometimes they're upset. Sometimes they shat themselves.
But just feed them. If they cry, feed them. It works.
See, there you go. Spoken like the dad, right? That's definitely dad talk right there. Like, oh, I don't know. It's easy. 37 months, I had to do shit. Yeah, you didn't have to do shit.
No, I'm telling you, even that window of 3 to 7 months, they're just lying there. Like, once they get to 7 months, now they're moving around a little bit more. Like,
you're stressed the entire time. Like, oh my God, this hasn't moved yet. Oh my God, they're not in solids yet. Oh my God, like, dude, you're always stressed.
You're stressed holding them the first couple of months. By 3 months, you're twirling that thing around like a pizza. I'm like, got one hand. I'm making a phone call. I got the kid in one hand. I'm telling you, by 3 months, you're like, you're good.
And this is why your kid cusses you out now.
Well, I can't believe that you thought it was easy 3 to 7 months when they're screaming shit monsters. Like, I am terrified of that age. You're spinning infants around on your finger like Meadowlark Lemon. We're on Max right now, and you can catch us on the DraftKings Network from Monday to Friday, 11 to 2 p.m. Eastern. We are also on Peacock with Dan Patrick, NBC Sports Fast Channel, Monday through Friday from 12 to 3 Eastern. YouTube is always available for you at 9 a.m. in the morning with our live show Eastern time. But when I mentioned Dan Patrick, he had a similar take to Greg Cote yesterday on the arbitrary Ohtani and the 50-50 just being a round number. Ohtani is in town. He stole another base yesterday. I'm telling you, even with the new base stealing rules where there are limits on the number of times that you can throw to first base, it's still startling to me to see someone of that size stealing bases. Like Canseco did it for a while, but getting to 50 bases stolen at that size when you're that kind of power guy is unusual.
Jeremy, what was his career high in stolen bases before this year? Because
That would be 26.
So he just decided, okay, hey, I signed this big deal, can't pitch this year. How else can I add to the team? What can I do here? I'm going to steal 50 bases.
This is why he is on his way to being the greatest baseball player ever, because when have we ever seen this? A guy who does everything on the field.
There's no such thing. Well, he gets caught stealing. He's not that good at it, to be honest. He gets caught stealing a lot. What, Tony?
Then he's a tank. What do you want him to do? He gets caught stealing till he's 6'5", 270.
Well, no, but Tony, usually the guy who gets caught stealing a lot is someone who stops stealing. Like, that's usually how that one goes.
I'm actually curious, Jeremy, are the new rules, is it easier to steal now?
Yes.
With the new rules?
Yes, but he's also only been caught stealing 4 times this year.
A lot of skeptical people are saying that this stolen base increase is because of the new rules.
Let me ask a question.
It is.
As an ignorant person relative to baseball to everybody else in the room, maybe not Tony. Tony, me and you are on the same. We're on the same ignorant side, right?
Thank you.
Okay. I'm looking up hey, what was the most? 50 sounds a lot. What was the most ever?
Oh, no, it's 100 and something with Ricky
The most
Henderson.
ever.
What?
It's 138 by some guy named Hugh Nickel in 1887. I'm just going to assume that doesn't count because there were no black people or anything. But number two.
There were black people. They just weren't
not playing
baseball. Yeah.
Number 2 was Ricky Henderson, who in 1982 stole 130 bases. And I thought about what you just said. He gets caught a lot, right? Because he steals 130 out of 172 attempts. How is that possible? Whatever the rules are, how is it possible you steal 130 bases and only get caught 40 some odd
He was
times?
really good at it. I mean, he was better than anyone ever at the stealing of bases. In fact, he stood next to Lou Brock when he broke his record and held the base over his head and said to Lou Brock, "I'm the greatest." That's what do you mean? How does that happen? Because he was great at stealing bases. Jeremy, take a look at the career number of times that Ohtani gets caught stealing, because you're doing it this season. It's easier to steal bases. The Nationals they've got 10 guys who can steal bases.
That's entirely fair, but we talk about how crazy it is that he stole 130 bases in 172 attempts. That's about 75% of the time you're stealing the base. Ohtani's doing it at a 92% clip this year. It's ridiculous. So I can look at the career, but this season, if he attempts to steal 92% of the time, he's safe. That's with 50 homers, 48 homers.
What's happening here? Right? This guy was created in the lab, no? This isn't normal.
It is not in any way normal. It is unprecedented in the history of this sport, and this sport has more history than any of the other sports.
Years ago, I asked the question, this is when I was in college, I asked my buddies, why do they keep switching the pitchers? Left-handed pitchers do better against certain guys, right-handed pitchers. I was like, okay. But have we ever had a guy who's a switch pitcher? And I'm like, then it thought to me, that would be insane. Could you imagine that if the guy just went up to the mound, oh, you want to throw up one of those? Okay, I'll just turn this way. Give me my other glove. That would be crazy. And but everyone's like, that's never going to happen. And I look at Shohei now, and I'm like, is it that far off? If we see this guy who does everything else perfectly other than throw with his offhand?
I think we do have an ambidextrous pitcher. He has one glove that fits both hands, I'm sure. In my limited baseball knowledge, I also had no idea Ricky Henderson stole so many bags. Wow.
There was a game this year, I'm trying to remember, I think it was a Cleveland game, where they hadn't been held to so few hits since they had been no hit by Jim Abbott. It was along the lines of, do you guys remember the viral video of 2 young black kids being introduced to In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins? Telling a generation that Jim Abbott threw a no-hitter with one arm and that there was a Yankee pitcher who pitched with one arm, seeing a generation realize, oh my God, there's a guy out there who once upon a time threw a no-hitter and pitched for the Yankees, and he had only one arm. It was like a riddle that doesn't have an answer. If you have not seen it, you would not be able to explain. How could you explain to somebody, if you have not seen it, that there was a pitcher who had only one arm?
Well, I mean, let's be fair. You really are pitching. On the other hand, you just need it.
Most pitchers use one arm.
Yeah, in case the ball comes back, you catch it. But, like, if the ball never comes to you, you could throw a no-hitter, right? If you're just throwing strikes or pop-ups.
It's just more dangerous than anything.
Well, it's not.
Because he has no way to protect himself if a line drive comes back.
He's got a glove. No, he had the glove. No. Well,
Wait, what?
Yes, he's white. Well, you think he's playing the position without a glove?
Yeah, he doesn't need a glove.
What?
Doesn't need it.
No. I'm introducing you to the fact that Jim Abbott threw with one arm and also had a glove. What I'm saying about this being a riddle is, okay, for those of you who don't know about Jim Abbott at all, how the hell are you a major league pitcher who fields his position with a glove and only has one arm? How do you throw a pitch and have a glove after throwing a pitch? It's a riddle.
That's the more impressive part, to be honest. Throwing a no-hitter, not impressed. Okay, so you're a good pitcher. Being able to have a glove that you then put on very quickly after you throw the pitch, that's impressive.
But I imagine most people listening to this who don't know what I'm talking about with Jim Abbott don't even know where the glove was, because how do you throw a baseball if you've got the glove? If people are listening to this and they don't know what I'm talking about with Jim Abbott, I think they're imagining Jim Abbott throwing the ball the way you would a high-lie pelota with the glove that you're throwing it with. I mean,
that would be awesome.
People who are listening to this who have no idea how Jim Abbott did that, where do they think the glove was? In the crack of his ass? Like, where do they think it was?
Like, kind of like in between his. Well, he doesn't have an armpit on the. I don't know where.
Well,
the
no,
hell
he
the glove
does. He
would
does.
be.
He had an arm.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. We have video of it here.
Yes,
I
he
got-
would tuck
just
it in
beyond the elbow.
He would tuck it in the other
nub.
armpit.
I had him doing it like this, like a
Under the
pillowcase,
chin?
like a pillowcase.
Throwing 90 miles an hour.
And like,
Threw a no-hitter with the glove under the chin would be crazy.
oh no, wait, hold on. The glove is kind of like perched on his nub.
Yeah. It was misleading
Yes,
the way
it's perched on his nub.
Dan
that
was-
doesn't have a hand.
a little misleading what you guys did there.
Hold on, yeah, exactly.
I was envisioning a fully one-armed person, like nothing at the shoulder, like from the shoulder to
Oh,
the
so it's not impressive because he, has half an arm.
He's not one-armed. He's one-handed.
1 3/4.
This is crazy.
He's got an arm.
He's got a full arm.
He's got an arm and a forearm. He doesn't have a hand. You guys, once again, this is why no one trusts the media.
Let me play this Dan Patrick sound for you, because he agrees with Greg Cote that 50 is just an arbitrary round number. Sort of agrees. Let's hear this.
Shohei Ohtani's had an MVP season, even if he doesn't do 50-50. And if you go back to when this season started, coming off surgery, a procedure, you also had his interpreter and the gambling debts. Was Ohtani involved, not involved? He's in Korea. They open up the season. Is he going to play? How is he going to play? He's not going to be able to pitch. Is that going to affect his hitting? That's before we even start the season. And now you go 48-48. It won't have the same ring to it. And that will be unfortunate because we haven't seen this before. 48-48. I hope he gets to 50-50 just because then history will be, I think, kinder to him and this monumental season. But if he ends up like 49, 48, and then it's like, oh, yeah, well, how many home runs did he have? How many stolen bases? We'll get it confused. Did he have 48 home runs? 49s? Oh, the other way. 50-50? Everybody's going to consume it and go, man, that year Ohtani went 50-50. You don't look back and go, boy, that year that guy went 48, 49.
People hate math. I do think they hate math, and so they need it made easy for them. Because it is, while not as impressive as 50-50, 49-48 has also not been done by anybody.
49 is one of the worst numbers in general. That's why you don't see safeties wear it. If you think about all the numbers, if I ranked all 100 numbers, 49's a bottom 5 number, I think, of all the hundreds.
Wow, really?
It's just not the 9 in general. All the 39, 29, 9 is just not aesthetically
unsexy number.
It's just not a sexy number. So he needs to
What
get
number
the 50,
is sexy for you, Chris?
Well, 21 and 23 are sexy numbers.
We already talked about this yesterday. For some reason, the 8 and the 5 were viewed as the most voluptuous. We didn't know whether the 5 had a belly or an ass. We don't know which way the 5 was going.
So he's got the ball in one hand, right? And then the glove sits like this. See how the glove and it can stick very easily. So all you got to do is tuck it right here.
But you have to have it facing the other way so you can put your hand in it easier. Like he kind of has it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. This is a left-handed glove. I'm assuming his glove would have been
It's a right hand. It's for a righty, that glove.
Yeah, no, but this goes on the left hand, right? If I had another, okay, let me do it this way, just so Chris feels, Mr. Baseball Chris. Okay.
Well, if you're going to do it, you should be authentic. You should try and do it correctly.
I'm not left-handed.
Okay,
so
but
anyway.
you're not also someone who has half an arm and you're doing that.
Someone right-handed would have that glove.
Okay.
Oh wait, but I guess if if he only has my bad.
You see my point? Yeah, thank you.
You're screwing up a
not
mechanic.
Exactly, right? So this thing sits on it perched right here, as you can see, because the glove is very tight, right? It's tight. It's got oils and stuff. They put rubber bands around it to make it nice and tight, right? It's here, so it doesn't just flop off like, that sheet I had earlier. I could do all types of movement like this. If I hold it close enough to my body, right, and I got the ball here, right, I'm throwing, and now, boom, boom.
Okay.
Look, and I'm not. This is my
got
first
it, Dan.
time.
Boom,
You
boom.
left it the wrong leg, and just because you hit us with a boom boom doesn't mean that we're all like amazed. Oh, look, Jim Abbott's in our midst. Look at this. He hit us with a boom boom, and it seems like he can throw 90 miles.
I'm telling you, as someone who's never done that in my life, I just saw the dude do it one time.
Yes.
You guys are marveling, and I'm saying not that hard.
Okay.
What you don't understand is that when you throw a baseball, when you're pitching, you're supposed to be able to point your arm at the target to be able to give yourself the proper lineup of your shoulders and then come back. So if you're using this small part of your arm to hook the glove at the right balance, you have a wrist that's allowing you to keep the balance of the glove.
He's got a nub.
It doesn't allow him to do that. He's keeping it tucked in. This is crazy.
What was the name? What was the name of the football player? Remember from UCF, right?
Yeah, of course. Shaquem Griffin.
Shaquem Griffin. Remember when
Goat.
you guys were like, "Oh my God, how's he doing this?" And I'm like, I mean, it's kind of like a billy club. He's using, it's almost like an advantage. He's whooping everybody's ass, just swinging it indiscriminately.
I can't believe what you're doing right now.
I'm just saying, sometimes it's like Oscar Pistorius. Maybe it was a disability, but maybe also a little bit of an advantage.
Okay.
Maybe.
All right.
Sometimes it could be both, Dan.
Well, I did make that argument once with Anthony Robles, the wrestler, who didn't have legs, and therefore his upper body was unbelievably strong. And they're in weight classes, and not having the legs gave him an advantage. I will
They
not
couldn't grapple him. They couldn't grapple him.
I know.
The limbs
You
weren't
can't take him
there.
down.
I
Like, you
I
can't.
know.
How? You try to grab it, but it's just a nub, so it keeps slipping.
Look, hold on a second. I need to stop everyone now because I'm totally not sure. I'm not sure because sometimes the times pass me by. So I used to say homeless person, and now I'm told
Unhoused gentleman.
it's unhoused. Correct. I'm not sure about nub. You're throwing around nub here.
Judges? No, we're good.
And I'm not sure. Like, everyone knows what we're talking about, but it seems indelicate to me. And it might be okay, but I don't have anything. I don't have anything better than nub. But I'm uncomfortable with nub, and I'm more uncomfortable with you trying to somehow diminish Jim Abbott's accomplishment by saying it's easy because you go bam, bam, and you're not throwing a baseball that's being hit by anybody.
This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say I do not mean to equate Jim Abbott's plight to that of Shaquem Griffin and Anthony Robles. I feel like those guys, and Oscar Pistorius, those guys all, in a weird way, had an advantage, right? I could see how Jim Abbott could be, a little debilitating as far as trying to be the best baseball player possible.
A little debilitating.
I'm saying it's not as big as you guys are making it out. Not as big as you guys. Now, okay, the only thing is, the only thing is if there's a bang bang play, that's really hard to do all this while a laser's coming back at you. I accept that, but
they stopped trying to bunt on him. He fielded his position so well. At one point, they were trying to take advantage of him by trying to bunt on him, but he fielded his position too well to do it.
Well, also bunting is a bad play, so That's
Well, it wasn't back then. It
see, there
took.
you
We
go.
had to
Guy's
learn
got
that.
one
It
hand.
still isn't. It's a
Yeah,
damn
see.
good play.
See, a
Love a bunt.
dinosaur. You dinosaur.
Love a bunt.
Also, you're downplaying the fact that he could only play on one half of the teams in the MLB, right? Because at his time, if he played in the National League, he would have to actually
to
hit.
bat
So imagine
one-handed.
if he had one
he
hand
had
where
to
he was trying
slap
to
that
swing it with
shit?
one hand.
Well,
wow.
Look up his career batting average because I do.
He
believe,
batted?
I believe he
Hold
had.
on,
I
hold
do
on.
believe he had at bats.
I'm on it.
I don't believe he was regularly
Jim
batting,
Abbott.
but I think he had at bats. I will ask you to check that for me. I do not have it in front of me.
Dan, there's a podcast here that I
Batting.
just wrote down. Revisionist Sports History, where we go back in time and figure out for the first time amazing sports feats from the past that we've either forgot about or never heard of.
Dan, he had 21 at-bats.
I mean, he's just playing tennis.
2 hits. Who? Wait, hold on.
3 RBI.
Who?
What? What?
3 ribbies.
What? Jim Abbott had 3 RBI? Are you kidding me? Do you realize that none of us would go 2 for 21? It would be impossible for any of us to go 2 for 21. How the hell does he have 3 RBI?
We're looking at it here. He's got the nub on the bat. He's not playing tennis.
You sad son of a bitch who's pitching right now. You
No,
gave up
come
a
on,
hit?
come on,
Oh, no, we're
come
not going
on,
to let this
come
guy
on,
just skate.
come
Who was that
on.
pitcher? I'm with
Yeah,
Amin on this.
No,
bring
come
it.
on.
We need to
Run it
shame that
back.
person.
Run it back.
No, we do not need to shame that person. There's no reason to shame that
Oh, wait,
person
hold
because they
on.
gave up
Hold
a hit
on.
to the amazing athlete Jim Abbott.
Hold on, now I'm seeing it. Like, so he gets to press the nub against the bat.
I think that's Lieber. The Cubs had a Lieber. Is it John Lieber?
Yeah.
That's who that is. Let's shame him. Let's get him on.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No.
How did it feel?
No.
Like he must have felt like shit afterward, right? Dan, you always like say, what was the lowest point? That guy's my
Really.
lowest point when I gave
My
up.
lowest point is when I gave up an RBI single up the middle to Jim Abbott, who had one arm. That's a great answer to that question. I don't think we're being fair. He's a professional athlete who had 3 major league RBI.
The move there, if you're the pitcher, you throw it inside on the hands hard.
Jam him.
Because he cannot turn that around. There's no way.
So let's put up a listener's critique of Greg Cote, because Greg Cote is saying that it is totally arbitrary. It is random to just make it about 50-50. Who cares that it's 50-50 instead of 51-51? And a listener writes in, Greg Cote calling Shohei's 50-50 chase an arbitrary and contrived milestone while planning his 70th birthday on a yacht where his sons are mandated to give a speech is amazing. Yes.
That's a great tweet.
Yes,
man.
I mean,
That even had my dad being like, "That's a good tweet."
That's a good ass tweet, man.
what does your dad have planned for Saturday? Because your dad, Amin was talking a little bit earlier about my relationship with my dad, and he is right. When my father never looked at me as anyone other than Danny. I was never in charge. I was never the boss. I was only Danny, who he's known as always a 6-year-old. And Chris and Greg have the same relationship. And Chris gets buried because of how impatient he is with his father on the Greg Cote Show, featuring Greg Cote, that very popular podcast that Greg has. And the best dynamic on that podcast is the fact that Chris is perpetually looking for ways to undercut his father, who then very often will get genuinely annoyed. Your father is beloved around here, but your father is an enormous diva, and I can't imagine how frustrating your mother has found planning this birthday for him, because he pretends like he doesn't want to be involved with anything, and then he wants everything to be just
That's
so.
the annoying part, is that he's doing the thing of like, I don't care who taught. Like he's trying to like get to me on the side. Like, I really am not mandating that you, even though he is. That's the part. He's trying to back off all the things. And you think you're not skating on this, Dan. He was talking to me yesterday. He's like, I think we should make the whole Greg Cote Show episode next week. Stuff on the boat, content.
Well, no.
And I'm just like, Dad, we've tried this before at Moss. We never do as much content at these things as we think we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to save like a 10-minute chunk. Yeti will go around, talk to people, and we'll have a little chunk of it. And he's like, what do you mean? We could get all the speeches. Dan's going to talk for 10 minutes. We could have that. And I'm like, Dan.
Did you know this?
I was like,
you have 10 minutes of time on.
that's what I'm saying.
Hearing
Like,
of it.
my dad, he's doing this thing where he's like, no one has to talk, but then in his mind, he has Dan talking for 10 minutes, which is crazy. And I'm just like, lower expectations. If we get more content, fine, but we're going to just set aside a 10-minute chunk for it.
Could you speak for 10 minutes about Greg Cote?
I mean,
Like,
yeah.
if
We'll replay your thing from his birthday. How about that?
well, that wasn't 10 minutes long.
It was like 9. That was close. That was long.
For real?
It was a monologue, yes. Yes, I could speak about Greg Cote for 10 minutes. It would not be hard, but it would not be complimentary either. It would be all about his unrelenting narcissism, where the greatest gift that you can give him is just make him the center of attention.
Yeah, I'm roasting him. I told him.
Now,
that's
guys,
what I'm doing.
I really want to talk about this. This is really interesting, and we're going to get back to Greg Cote and the yacht party, but we have a Jim Abbott update. Let's go to Jeremy on the scene.
Gigantic Jim Abbott update.
What do you mean on the scene? He's just over there.
That's the scene
Two
of where that
career
thing is.
hits for Jim Abbott, both of which were against John Lieber. We have to get him on the
have to
show.
get him
We
on.
have to get
You
him.
gave
Sullivan,
up
get
We
him.
have to get him.
2 hits? One, I get it. You got lucky. Like, I got lucky, right? All the pitchers in all of the major league, 21 at-bats. Was it the same game?
Are you guys telling me
it wasn't two different games?
Are you telling me that Jim
weeks
Abbott
apart.
was 2 for 2 against John Lieber? Like he had 2.
Well, it was over the span of a couple games. I imagine. I'll look at the splits. I think 2 for 5 career off John Lieber. So 400 batting average.
That's a
off
Hall
John
of Famer.
Lieber.
That's a Hall of Famer. If he just
What do you mean that's a Hall of Famer? It's the best baseball player ever. And anybody who hits 400.
the splendid splinter.
He did not hit the splendid splinter. Did not hit 400 in his career. He did it one season, and it was one of the most amazing seasons in baseball.
Oh, the second it was a line drive over shortstop.
Same. That shortstop needs to field his position.
That shortstop should have caught that ball.
So wait, now you guys are foisting it on the shortstop. How about the guy who let the one-handed man hit?
Will you
twice?
please stop this?
Play it again, guys. I want to see the shortstop not jumping.
You guys are doing this incorrectly, okay? And it's in keeping with how it is we cover sports these days. Instead of celebrating the amazing achievement of Jim Abbott, you guys are critiquing John Lieber instead. Like, stop doing that.
That hit his glove.
Stop doing that, please. I mean, it's indelicate, it's insensitive, it's borderline cruel.
Look at that lazy ass pitch he threw. What is this? Look at this. This is like pitching to your kid in T-ball. Oh my God! Of course he rocked it.
Shortstop's got to make a play there.
Nah, man, it was above his glove, man.
He is
tried.
kind of playing tennis. It is what's happening.
It's like a forehand.
Well, it's a backhand because
yeah.
he's left-handed,
Yeah.
so it's he's hitting it backhanded. Again, I just want all of you. You guys are giggling about this, but I want you to just think for a moment, because one of the great flatteries at our age as we celebrate 20 years is the sheer number of young people that I run into that I'm floored had our show handed down to them from their fathers in the back of the car. I want you now to imagine all of these people who are learning for the first time that there was a one-handed pitcher in the because he was one-handed. He was not one-armed, but he was 1.5 armed. He was missing. He was
3/4, I'd say.
He was.
Me too. 1.75.
No. It's half an arm. It's not 3/4.
Half an arm stops at the elbow. He's got way past his
It
elbow.
wasn't way.
Look, let's get that at bat again. You'll see it. It's a nub, and it's
And the nub almost fits nicely up against that bat.
It does.
It's almost
Like
to
a
the
nice-
wrist,
like
to
a
be
nice-
honest.
Do you think he has to lotion that part of the nub, or else it gets like a
Of
blister?
course, it's there's so much friction right there. But look at it.
But you
You
can't
can't even tell he doesn't have another.
You
hand.
can't have too much oil on it, though. Then the bat goes slipping out. It's like that nice balance. I'm sure it's a specific lotion.
You need like a petroleum jelly.
There
like
it
it's
is.
nice and sticky.
We
little
found
bit
it. We
almost.
talked it out. Abbott's got to have a sense of humor about this stuff, right? Like, he wouldn't be offended by this. He'd be if Abbott's watching this right now. He's like, look at me, still in the
Loving
news.
it. Loving it.
I don't. I cannot speak for Jim Abbott. I'm not comfortable with anything that we're doing.
He'd
right
love
now.
all this.
Okay, thank you for you're very comfortable speaking for Jim Abbott. I don't think he'd love the assessment that as one of the great athletes ever in the history of that sport, you accused him of playing tennis. Like I don't think. I don't think that he would find this as amusing as you seem to find it. I am weirded out by the fact, though, that we've landed on amusing instead of amazing about this.
Dan Le Batard.
Cheaters never prosper.
Stugotz.
I ain't cheating.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Do you guys know a lot of adults who can't really control their bowels, who don't have like Crohn's disease? Because Amin is allegedly a disciplined adult and he just had to run out of here. And he just asked me, I just had the awkward exchange of, can you handle this without me? And I'm like, well, I'd rather not. And he's like, well, I have to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, well, I'm not comfortable telling you to not go to the bathroom. Like, I'm not going to tell you to just sit there in some sort of discomfort. So now we do the segment without Amin. Do you guys know a lot of adults who can't control this part of their life?
No, just my 6-year-old. I actually heard of his dump in a different way through the poop chat. He texted 2 minutes ago, second dump. The milkshake was a bad idea last night. At which I responded in the poop chat, Amin, we're waiting for you. And he wrote, my insides are on fire.
I get very frustrated every time I walk away from this microphone how you guys always descend into some version of toilet talk almost every time I leave. And the fact that there is on our Slack a chat where you guys are always giving each other updates on this stuff. Roy, this isn't in any way for you, right?
No, absolutely not.
Do you even understand it? Because I'm mystified by how much they enjoy telling each other about the fact that they're pooping. It's not funny. It's not clever. It's just giving people little updates on how disgusting they all are.
The idea of that being a Slack channel is hilarious. It's actually just a text, a group chain. That would be hilarious if we brought that to Slack.
The chat channel on Slack is a show chat.
This is why I haven't. I'm glad that I have an Android, so I don't have to deal with that sort of.
You know what, Roy? I'm going to add you.
You okay.
Right, how regular,
I want myself into that.
Are you a
one.
morning guy? How regular are you?
Morning.
All right, good.
How did it go for you guys with the Panthers yesterday? Did you enjoy yourselves? You went out to their first media day. Did they have the scent of champions? Chris and Roy bombarded the Panthers, but we are not a rights holder, so they weren't particularly wanted there.
No, it smelled like winners in there, man. It was fun for me. I hope that you felt the same, Chris.
It was very fun. I can't wait for people to hear an exchange that I had with Bobrovsky. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to sell it. I don't want to. It was just I tried to do a thing, and you know, Bob can be a little tough. That's all I'll say.
Well, when I heard you guys were going out there, I thought that in order to make Bobrovsky, because he's a champion and he's great, but he's terrible as an interview, I thought we should like bring sparklers and party favors and like work with him on how do we make you a more exciting interview. You're a champion now. People should see a little more of your personality because he's not exactly a content machine, the goalie for the Panthers.
Well, that's an interview that's designed for you because you tend to open people up a little bit more. I
Crack him open.
I asked him about his spirituality, and he kind of opened up.
It was
there.
a good answer. Roy got the best answer out of him, honestly, talking about his spirituality.
Okay, so we will have that when after
next week,
a couple of seasons, after 7 or 8 seasons
when they
from
win
now.
the cup again.
Okay, very good. I look forward to that. I saw yesterday emerging from the shadows, giving an interview, trying to get back into the game. John Gruden says he's interested in coaching college football, and I do believe that college football has gotten just dirty enough that if Urban Meyer can easily reinvent himself over there, and if we're willing to just put down all of our moralities, that John Gruden will never work in professional football again. You can't litigate against the NFL and then get back into the NFL. But I do want to remind people of some of John Gruden's reasons for banishment, because I think if I ask you guys, if I ask the audience, do you know that John Gruden is sort of banned from football? The answer will be yes. But if I ask then, do you know why? Do you know the details? I think you need some reminders on the details, because he's been really busy fighting the NFL on how this was leaked. and how he lost his job that he thought initially he was going to keep, because when the first bits of this information came out, he entrenched himself on, I'm not going anywhere. Now, you got to keep in mind, this person was the highest paid employee at ESPN. He was the voice of Monday Night Football. It was a different age, right? All these people are now being paid 3 times as much. But back then, he was the voice and face of football at ESPN, and he could have gotten any job he wanted. He was kind of coach in waiting the way Belichick is. His reputation was pristine, and he loved football the way we love football. He basically brought to the broadcasts what Romo brought initially to the broadcast. It's not doing it the way Brady does it. It's the way John Madden does it. It's like, this guy clearly loves what he's watching, and that's infectious. Oh, but in the shadows, he does some stuff that is homophobic, and also wasn't there some racism in there too?
Oh yeah. There's a ton of stuff here. Just a few things that leaked out through these emails. Gruden called Roger Goodell a F slur and a clueless anti-football P slur. Gruden also said that Goodell should not have pressured the Rams to draft quote-unquote queers, referring to Michael Sam, the first openly gay player drafted in NFL history. In messaging Bruce Allen, the former Washington football team president, he sent messages with topless photos of their cheerleaders. Gruden also joked to Allen that he should tell Brian Glazer, the co-owner of the Bucks, to perform oral sex on Gruden. He mocked Caitlyn Jenner for receiving an ESPN award following her gender transition. He stated the players who protest the national anthem should be fired, specifically regarding Eric Reed. He also used a racist stereotype to describe NFLPA Executive Director DeMaurice Smith, saying, "Dumb Boris Smith has lips the size of Michelin tires."
Oh, that's bad.
I'll tell you, man,
Yeah, monster.
I apologize about all of that. I'd love to coach again, man. I love football players.
You could tell that Gruden's been out of the light for a little bit because Chris is.
I'll tell you, man, I thought that was pretty good.
Nah, it's not.
I haven't
great.
done it in a while. Thought that was pretty good.
Bit rusty.
Dusted it off.
Bit rusty.
It's caliendo. That's what I'm doing.
Wait a minute. It's all right that it's a little bit rusty. Like, you guys got to, man, I am so tired of the culture around here of undercutting. You guys were not happy for Pablo Torre on Family Feud. Chris is trying a thing there. He's broken out his rusty impersonation. The hardest things to do around here in front of people are impersonations and singing. Those are the bravest things, the most vulnerable things.
I could do both, man. I'll tell you what, man. I love football. I used to be Jay, remember? I'm not usually John.
Yeah.
I'm Robert and
Now,
Kirk.
what's the J? Can we hear Jay versus John?
Robert and Kirk. Where are they at, man? Where are they at?
Yes,
And so where's John?
I'll tell you, man. John loves football players, man. I'll tell you this right now. I'll tell you. I'm gonna tell you again, and I'll keep saying it because I'm gonna tell you. I love football players, man, and I apologize about all that stuff I said. I really apologize, man. I don't know what I was thinking. I regret that. As soon as I hit send, man, I was like, shit, shouldn't have sent that.
I really apologize.
I'm super sorry, man. Love football players.
He's going to get back in the game. He's going to. Somebody is going to say,
Northern Iowa, here I come, baby. All right, too much.
Southern twang there to John Gruden.
There was some Hispanic in there. I heard it too.
Good, all right. I'm not crazy.
No,
I love a hand turkey, man.
It was Juan Gruden there. I heard him there. I don't know how it is that you had a Hispanic accent, but you did. You were doing fine, and I don't mean to undercut you. It's just you got a little too cocky. And
Did I mention I apologize, man, about all that stuff?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, all of it. Just a blanket apology. What are your thoughts on John Gruden getting back into football? Because I heard you guys
To Americas.
before the show yelling at each other about Lane Kiffin. You guys, for some reason, are just fascinated with coaching carousel stuff in ways I will never be fascinated with coaching carousel stuff. And so when you tell me the name John Gruden, I'm just like, that person should never, and I'm a forgiving person, but he should never work in the coaching of people again. Like, when those are the things on his resume, the disgrace of that isn't something that should be welcomed back into that workplace. However, I am used to that particular workplace being more immoral than most. And so I do shrug my shoulders if you tell me he's possibly going to get back to teaching kids because we've professionalized this so much that John Gruden is a name that will have, I assume, value somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if I see him, but no. I'd rather not see John Gruden on the sideline.
But remember,
I don't think it would be good.
But I apologize, man, if you remember.
Yeah, we heard that. Yeah.
For everything.
You did.
Football players, man. Love them.
Can he come in as a head coach, or would he be willing to come in as an offensive coordinator? Would John Gruden be willing to come up the ladder of shame by being an assistant coach instead of a head coach?
The only way that it could have happened was if Saban was still at Alabama and he took Nick Saban took him in and he made him a defensive coordinator, an offensive coordinator, whatever he wanted to be, and then helped him through that pipeline of recycled coaches that get that rehab tour. It's hard because we've seen really bad coaches and really bad people get that second, third, fourth chance, right? Like Hugh Freeze ends up at a Christian school in Liberty, and then all of a sudden he's like, hey, what did Hugh Freeze do? He's a nice guy. He's here with us at Liberty. Or Bobby Petrino, now back at Arkansas. Like, oh, when did that happen? Oh, that's right.
There's Briles all over the place. Kendall Briles, I believe, is coaching at TCU. And, you know, it's like the offensive analyst role. It's not even a coordinator. You sneak them in just in one of those roles. It's like right now on the rehab tour for coaching, Scott Frost is an offensive analyst under Sean McVay. This is always how it goes. They're an analyst, and then all of a sudden they're back in.
When you said Kendall Briles right there, I had no idea that's what his son's first name was, and I just had this weird, like Kendall Jenner and Art Briles like being one person, and that's one of the oddest.
Okay, it could have stayed a thought in your head and not spoken into
Kendall
a microphone.
Briles.
It could have not.
I'm sorry about that, man. I apologize for that as well. I'm going to turn my mic off now.
You could have just kept it to
Football
yourself. Yeah, okay. You know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to just.
Kendall Briles, though. Quite the compliment.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes, rambling.
Just some thoughts should just stay in your head. You don't have to say them all at a microphone. Like that, you're just doing word association. Hey, you said Kendall, and I thought of a Kendall, and it was Kendall Jenner, and it's Kendall Briles. That's a Briles adjacent Briles. That's not the Briles. Art Briles is the problematic Briles, and he will not work anywhere. He has tried to whiff around college football, and he keeps getting run out of every place with every minor assistant coaching job because people are like, nope. That's too many crimes to bring around here.
That's too many Briles, actually.
This goes into the camp of, am I surprised, right? We were talking about it last week. Am I surprised that Dave Grohl had a child out of wedlock? No, I'm not surprised. Will John Gruden coach again? Yeah, maybe. I'm not surprised if he will. I'll be like, oh, okay, he's at Kennesaw State. Sure, okay.
But I'm asking you, as a head coach, you're putting him in charge of everything? Like, you can't
Somebody
welcome
will be
that in
desperate
charge
enough
of
to do
everything.
it, Dan.
That's how it always is. That's the redemption tour, right? Like you say you're sorry, and then you go do a small school, and then they start winning, and then all of a sudden you get called up to a bigger school, and next thing you know, you're back.
And we've seen it in all sports. I mean, they recycle coaches often. So I'm not going to be surprised at all.
The vampire, the biggest example that we have. Rick Pitino is like, oh, he'll never come back. And guess where he's at? He's back.
Yeah, but the things that he said so specifically about the executive VP of the NFLPA and about the commissioner of the league and literally using slurs about everybody. Like,
I'm not saying he'll be back in the NFL, but I'm saying he'll be back. Man, look, Urban Meyer keeps coming back. How? He's not even good.
He's good at college football. He wasn't good at pro football. But you guys are so cynical and numb at this point that there's not a series of scandals or allegations that I could put in front of you where you would say, you know what, that person cannot work here again. I mean,
Diddy. That's
yeah.
Okay, someone who is lacking the freedom to be able to get out from behind bars to go do the job in college. So you guys are basically saying that Diddy could be a college football coach. That you're the Diddy equivalent, if you were a college football coach, would be able to get back into football because football's so immoral that there's no line for you guys. There's nothing that will stop you from hiring a name to be around power.
Did Diddy win a national championship?
I think you'd say yes. Several.
If he won several, that's a different story.
The Diddy thing, I know that David Sampson, when he was on with us yesterday, didn't want to speculate about whether or not that was going to be a prison sentence that was going to last the rest of Diddy's life. But the idea that he would be denied bail because he is a flight risk, because you're worried that, like Russell Simmons in Bali, he's just going to vanish. Like, I was thinking when he was in trouble and they were surrounding his home in Star Island, I was thinking he should get on a boat and try to get away from all of that. If he thinks he's going to get out of this, this is escalated to a place where he is somebody who should not want to be in this country anymore.
I just want to clarify something. You brought up the Russell Simmons comp yesterday. Russell Simmons was never indicted for criminal charges. He's been sued, but he's never been indicted. So it's not the same thing. Sean Combs indicted on charges, and so A, him fleeing is a thing, and B, I'm pretty sure they would have had their eyes out for boats at that point. Like once the federal agents are raiding, they're not just kind of saying, oh, I'm sure he's fine.
You don't think that Diddy has the wherewithal, the Dave Canales wherewithal, to be able to get out of the country by boat before now? He can't do it now. But you don't think that he has the money to be
as a stowaway?
To be smuggled out of the country? You don't think that he could do that?
I don't think he could stow away, no.
Not stow away. Just, what do you mean? Just not stow away. Just get out of the country by boat.
And what type of boat are we talking about? Are we talking about a super yacht? Are we talking about a cigarette boat? Are we talking about a sailboat?
That's what I'm saying. I think what Dan's implying is like he gets onto like when a bunch of containers and they open these containers up and they open up, it's just boxes, and they open one of the boxes. And it's like
that's not what I'm not suggesting a cargo ship that he would be in a shipping container on a cargo ship. I am saying that I would have assumed that Diddy had the money to just get out of the country on a boat that would not be seen by the authorities. You believe that I'm wrong about this?
Those aren't avocados.
Everyone believes I'm wrong about this. This is something that you don't believe.
No, Dan, I believe you, but this conversation is outrageous.
What?
Like, this is crazy.
This is the one that's outrageous?
Well, the Gruden thing was also ridiculous, but we just moved on over.
I
the Jim Abbott one was
man.
great.
I told you, I apologize.
The John Lieber, Jim Abbott, if we could go back there, that was tremendous content.
It's maritime law, Dan.
Matt Sullivan is trying to track down John Lieber. He has found his telephone number.
For real?
Yeah, so we're going to try and get John Lieber before the end of the show. We will see if we can be successful in that regard. Before we do that, though, and before we get to David Sampson and Adnan Virk, I want to play for you some sound of Michael Kay, and I want to understand this sound because he's talking to John Flaherty. What is it that they're talking about, Chris Cote?
John Flaherty is one of the analysts that Michael Kay works with, and apparently there's different schedules, different games. It's like, and I guess there's politics on who's working with who, and you're going to hear in this clip that Michael Kay and John Flaherty don't work together a ton, and there may be some reasons for that.
Yeah, and you weren't very talkative on the bus this morning to the field, but as I was driving here, I was thinking it'd be great to get a place that's close. You can walk back and forth. I know you mentioned Don Zimmer living out in the apartments out in center field, but I just had a lot of time to think on the team bus today because it was just very quiet.
So you'd rather me be chatty? I wasn't feeling great.
I haven't seen you in a long time, right? You don't work road trips anymore when I'm on the road. So I thought we would catch up, but it quickly was evident that you weren't in the mood. So I gathered my thoughts about how it would be nice to live close to Wrigley, walk back and forth to the park.
Interesting narrative that you're putting together, because I've been told by executives that you prefer to work with Ruocco. That's why you two guys are matched up all the time. I mean, that's just what I heard. I don't know if there's any truth to it.
I just put it together that the road trips you don't want to go on, that I end up working with Ryan Ruocco because we're willing to work the games on the road.
Ground ball to short, Swanson. Listen, John, I don't pick out my schedule. I go where I'm told. I'll be very chatty tomorrow.
No, I just want to make sure that you're okay. I was a little worried about you.
I think you were worried that I wouldn't be talking much on the broadcast.
That is just uncomfortable.
Wonderfully awkward. David Sampson and Adnan Virk are joining us now. David Sampson was making faces. I don't know if he was making those faces because of the Michael Kay sound or because Adnan Virk is late again. It may have been either one of those things. Which was it, David?
Oh, it was clearly the latter. It is now 18 minutes after the hour. This was called for 15 minutes after the hour, and I've been sitting here for 180 seconds.
It's a fair point by David. 3 minutes, he'll never get back.
David Sampson is very punctual. He thinks, do you find it disrespectful when people are late? Because you're never late. I've never once known you to be late for anything.
I just respect other people's time. Time, is my thing. I'm running out of it. I don't want to sit here staring at an empty chair waiting for Verk for 3 minutes. It's ridiculous. What are you doing? It's 7:19 in the morning where I am. I've been working since 3:30 a.m. What are you doing, Adnan, that you can't be on time?
Vancouver radio hit 10 a.m. Eastern, and they went a little long. Normally they're 15-minute hits. I fear it would be done. They really want to talk Brewers. David, at least you can appreciate the passion for baseball, the good people in Vancouver, and they want to talk with the Mariners. How did Julio Rodriguez get picked off last night in the 10th?
It's called a hard out, Adnan. You tell people before you do a hit what your next responsibility is.
I know. You're right. It's a fair point. I'm not going to dispute this. I'm with Sampson. Punctuality is everything.
Then why are you so lacking in punctuality?
But what are you doing? Hang on a second, Le Batard. You cannot use one example now to say I'm lacking in punctuality. I'm not missing shows at MLB Network. I'm not a habitually late person. I'm on time. This is one example. Am I wrong? Absolutely. But let's not all of a sudden
build
put
the
the cart
narrative
before the horse. So to
My
speak.
wife does this to me, where it's like, oh, I did one thing wrong, and now I do this all the time. No, I did this right now. Okay, we're not turning this into all the time.
Except the last time.
And also, John Flaherty does this to Michael Kay, apparently.
That was super awkward. Go ahead.
Wait a second. Tell this story. John Flaherty did this to Michael Kay. Tell the story.
All right. Well, no, you weren't here. You were late, and so now we have to play. If you had been on
time.
Yes, if you'd been on time, you would have heard the sound. No, please, Chris, let's play it again for Adnan so we can do a personal show for Adnan because he's 3 minutes late and didn't hear what we were talking about.
Yeah, and you weren't very talkative on the bus this morning to the field, but as I was driving here, I was thinking it'd be great to get a place that's close. You can walk back and forth. I know you mentioned Don Zimmer living out the apartments out in center field, but I just had a lot of time to think on the team bus today because it was just very quiet.
So you'd rather me be chatty? I wasn't feeling great.
I haven't seen you in a long time, right? You don't work road trips anymore when I'm on the road. So I thought we would catch up, but it quickly was evident that you weren't in the mood. So I gathered my thoughts about how it would be nice to live close to Wrigley, walk back and forth to the park.
Interesting narrative that you're putting together, because I've been told by executives that you prefer to work with Ruocco. That's why you two guys are matched up all the time. I mean, that's just what I heard. I don't know if there's any truth to it.
I just put it together that the road trips you don't want to go on, that I end up working with Ryan Ruocco because we're willing to work the games on the road.
Ground ball to short. Swanson. Listen, John, I don't pick out my schedule. I go where I'm told. I'll be very chatty tomorrow.
No, I just want to make sure that you're okay. I was a little worried about you.
I think you were worried that I wouldn't be talking much on the broadcast.
Nice. And that's
I thought it was done by now.
No, if you had listened to it the first time, you'd have known when the sound was SOT was done. Secondly, the fact that we had to play it twice to placate your being late, I'm so infuriated, Dan, that I don't even feel like doing the segment.
What? It's like the guy who shows up in the meeting, sunglasses on, latte. Hey, sorry, guys, what did I miss? And they have to bring that guy up to speed. I'm that guy today. I apologize.
No, you're not worthy of being that guy. You're just a bedhead guy in an Expos t-shirt sipping water. You haven't even spoken yet.
Yeah, Expos t-shirt solid. Thank you for pointing that out, David. That is strong.
My favorite parts of that audio are ground ball to short and then just the ominous organ music in the background. You don't often get ominous organ music.
Whatever happened to the Expos, by the way?
That's a great question. David Sampson is with us. He could probably answer it. We'll do that another time because we have to get to the top 5 movie lists that they've put together. What is the subject that we're doing today?
This is the subject. I just saw a tweet that said the sunset in New York will not be after 7 p.m. until March. Wow. So we're entering now the dark period, which is always a bummer. But we're going to do the top 5 movies that remind you of end of summer / beginning of fall, because that's where we are.
Okay, well, we don't have time for that right now because Adnan was late. So let's
don't put it on me, Dan. Come on, we can make time. Let's go.
We've got 14 seconds left in the segment, so just stay there, and we will come back in a moment.
It's called a hard out, Adnan.
Yeah, I mean,
hard out, burn up.
So
I'm contracted for one segment only Thursday. See you later.
We can book for 2. That's good news. Okay.
David Sampson has stormed off. He is boycotting the general tardiness of a disrespectful Adnan Virk. I am very eager over the course of the next couple of months to get their baseball analysis because we've got two foremost experts on the sport at a time that's really exciting. I was saying before yesterday, Adnan, that it feels a bit like the playoffs have already started because of the stakes on all of these games. The Yankees in Seattle playing late last night in a game Seattle has to have because they have to finish strong. We will get David back here in a moment to do the movie stuff, but at the end of this segment, we'll have Pitch Clock. It's a segment that Jeremy is doing, and if you love your baseball, you are going to love this segment. If you don't love your baseball, you're not going to love this segment.
Not true. That's not true.
Well, it's you need to love baseball in order to love the segment.
No. I think the beauty of pitch clock, Dan, is that it makes it accessible to those of us who maybe aren't as well versed in baseball as some of us are.
Okay, but I would say that Jeremy's being in the middle of it also makes it something that perhaps people, if they don't want baseball, might not find it terribly palatable, because Jeremy's wandering around and he won't shut up about the Detroit Tigers, for example.
Dan, the gritty Tigers. I mean, come on. The gritty Tigers. Have you seen what they've been doing lately? It's amazing. Javi Baez, their highest paid player, since he went out, they're 17-7. They were a team that was 8 games under 500 in August, and now they're a half game out of the AL wild card after sweeping the Kansas City Royals, who had been a hot team themselves. Some stats for you. I mean, it's unbelievable because they only have 4 players who were batting above the league average in OPS. They don't have a catcher batting over 200. They have a Cy Young Award winner at the top of the rotation, but their team in the last 42 games, they have a team ERA of 2.54 and a whip of just over 1 as a team. It's unbelievable what they're doing. They're one of they're my favorite story in baseball right now. Detroit Tigers fandom, I am with you. Please send me everything that you have about this team. I am obsessed with the Tigers.
I was trying to shake you off of all of this. I was going, no.
Well, you had your face behind the glove. How was I supposed to see?
Well, that's how the pitchers do. I don't want the batter to see my count.
Adnan loved it. Adnan, what's your favorite storyline in baseball?
Well, listen, I'm with him on the Tigers story because I think it's been amazing. The fact they're a half game right now of a wild card spot is insane because nobody saw this coming. And I want to focus specifically on Tarek Skubal. Last in his numbers going in, 16-4, 2.5 ERA. He's going to win the Cy Young. He's nasty. He's fierce. He's ferocious out there. And a name that people probably haven't been paying attention to is Parker Meadows. He's been unbelievable for the Tigers. He's absolutely taken off. Cole Keith's been good. Matt Vierling, one of the few players that does have playoff success, has been excellent. So I share Jeremy's enthusiasm.
You just made up names. You just made up names. No?
Parker Meadows sounds like a very upscale neighborhood, like a suburb. Where do you live? I live out in Parker Meadows. Oh, that's nice.
Ooh, right next to Chicago.
Yeah.
I also think, guys, the Mets-Braves, it's unbelievable. The Mets are going to be a playoff team. They're 2 games up right now in Atlanta. They're pushing, as a matter of fact, the D-backs for the second wild card spot. Again, who would have thought a team without Kodai Senga for much of the year, led by Luis Severino and Sean Manaea, and David Peterson would all of a sudden be pushing for a playoff spot. Lindor's runner-up for MVP behind Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani's now at 48 home runs and 49 stolen bases. He's going to be the first ever 50-50 player. But if it wasn't for him, Lindor would be the MVP. And I'm telling you right now, fellas, I would not be shocked if the Mets made a deep run this October. If they make the playoffs, watch out.
And with their MVP out for the last week, they brought up Luis Angel Acuna. If that name sounds familiar, the younger brother of Ronald Acuna Jr., he's now playing shortstop for the Mets. He's homered in each of the last 2 nights as they've gone on to win and are extending their lead against the Braves. So it's Acuna against Acuna crime. It's got to be awful for the Braves. I mean, this has been amazing for the Mets.
Acuna.
I said Acuna.
David Sampson has returned. He was shouting. Who are you shouting at? You're yelling at Meadowlark people? What are you frustrated by? Why are you yelling into your telephone?
The mute was on. I was on the phone with my agent, actually.
We can tell you were saying, nope, I won't do it.
Because you're pissed off? Who are you pissed off at? Everybody?
No, I just did. I have a schedule that I had to keep. I was not expected to do a second segment this morning. I've got another meeting I've got to get to here in LA. And it's because, and we're doing this because of Verk, which I don't quite understand.
Sam said it was 3 minutes. You can't hold me liable for the second segment.
It cost us the whole segment, Adnan.
No, it didn't.
And we had to sit through a mean going to the restroom, which delayed everything for today.
You didn't have to, first of all, you didn't have to sit through anything. I told you guys you could just start the show. I don't care. I'm not going to be like, wait, what did I miss? It's your segment. It's not my segment.
I'm trying to think.
I've got IBS. I mean, I feel for you. I really do, but we're live.
What am I? So I should shit my pants on air?
Don't eat milkshakes at night.
Well, guess what? Guess what? First of all, Chris, how leaky are you, buddy? How leaky are you?
Yeah, my bad.
All right, number one. Number two, you know what? Sometimes it's just gas. Sometimes it's a little bit more. Today was a little bit more.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No, I mean, you guys want to make it content. Let's make it content, Le Batard.
How leaky are you? That's what we're talking about.
Making it content. We're trying to do a show, and we're dealing with people running off set. We're dealing with people being late.
There are 19 people on this show. One person, the whole thing falls apart? What the hell? Oh, my God, Amin had to go to the bathroom. What can we do? We've just got to stall it all out. What? How can we move forward? How can this country move forward? Can we hold an election with the means taking a dump?
End of
I just
summer
think that you're
movies.
responsible, Amin, for your own diet. People are responsible for their own jobs. And I think at Meadowlark, if we were better at that, we'd be better in general.
Yes. That's what's holding us back, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait a second. It's just a guy going to the bathroom and a guy being 3 minutes late is an indictment of an entire company? That's a little much. That feels hyperbolic to me.
No, it's not, Adnan.
Damn
No, it's not.
descriptive.
No, it's not. The difference last year between the Rangers and the Diamondbacks was the Rangers didn't have to shit as much. They managed to hold their shit in, and that's how they got to the top. Number one in the sport. You know what? Don't dump. Wait until
Now you're a baseball guy.
Now I'm a baseball guy. I shot out all my basketball knowledge, and I came back with fresh baseball in me.
And on a side note, Amin, what really bothered me this morning, in addition to Verk being late, was your commentary on Jim Abbott. Do you have any idea what it was to do what Jim Abbott did? And your imitation as someone who works with physically challenged athletes is embarrassing.
Well,
it is. You don't have one arm, you have two.
Yes,
and for you to try to imitate it, just say it is unreal what he did.
He's got 1.75 arms. He doesn't have one arm. He's got an other arm. He's got an elbow. He's got a forearm, and somewhere in the forearm, then it doesn't quite finish.
Stop.
I'm just saying.
An arm and 3/4. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, look,
there is no math when it comes to arms like that.
Disagree with that.
I disagree. Yeah, I am not in agreement with you. Let's
get Jim Abbott. Let's get Sarah Reinertson on. Does Sarah Reinertson have 1 1/4 legs?
I don't want to do this anymore. I'd like to stop doing this. Can we get to end of summer movies, please?
We're ending the summer all right, Dan.
I don't.
We're ending it all.
I don't like what's happening around here. It's wildly unprofessional. It is an indictment of our company.
That you guys are talking about me taking a shit?
Well, no, that you took a shit in the middle of us doing the show.
That's unprofessional.
It's an indictment of our company.
Having to take a shit is unprofessional.
You can't be at a microphone as an adult controlling your bowels. That you don't have irritable bowel syndrome. You don't have Crohn's disease. You're just someone who had a milkshake at midnight.
How do you know my medical history?
You had a milkshake at midnight because Chris Cote, old leaky Cote over there, told everybody you had a milkshake. That was the diagnosis.
The chat is open to the public. The chat is public knowledge.
Here's the crazy thing. I told Dan before the segment, "Hey, you're gonna have to start a segment without me." He said, "All right, go ahead." We didn't need any exposition. We really didn't. But also, I'll be fucked if anyone tells me that, hey, you better just sit there and not take a shit.
Nobody told you that.
Well, it sounds like that's the messaging that's coming across.
That's not.
You got to tighten it up, Amin.
There you go, see?
I mean, you said that it's what's holding the company back. That's what he said. That you can't control your bowels.
That's according to David Sampson, that's what makes us not quite number one. Because of my bowel movement.
Number 2.
That's it. Yeah, thank you.
Jinx.
End of summer movies.
This should
Number 5. What we all do here at Meadowlark. Stand by me.
Benny
Most
King.
Selfish, angry group of people I've ever been around.
Number 4.
It's a miracle we don't do this show from train tracks.
Number 4.
Grease. I love Grease. I love you, Olivia Newton-John. Rest in peace. Number 3.
I stopped on that the other day, and I was laughing with Valerie because one of those high schoolers was absolutely 34 years old in real life. Yes, one of them.
I think they all were.
No. The oldest one was 34. There was a 30-year-old. There was a 29-year-old. The oldest one was 34.
Stockard Channing?
I think that might.
She was old, dude.
Just like the euphoria people are in high school. Number 3, theater camp. Now, don't make fun of this because you want to. Molly Gordon directed it. Ben Platt's in it, one of my absolute favorite actors. And this is a movie about kids at summer camp and how seriously they take it. And one of the scenes when one of the children is accused of doping because she uses a special peer thing to make her cry during a scene and gets yelled at for being like a steroid user. It's classic. Great movie.
Number 2.
500 Days of Summer. If you think that's about this, don't give me that. That is one of the top movies of all time.
Who
Joseph
gave you?
Gordon-Levitt.
Who gave you what? Who gave you what?
I just
It was
heard
the
like
horn. Yeah, the noise.
I heard a horn.
It was just the fanfare. The fanfare just is. What's wrong with the fanfare?
Sensitivity. He hasn't done this segment before. It's because me shitting has thrown him off. What is that sound? What is that sound they're playing when I'm? Oh my gosh!
Hey, I mean, my legs are crossed because I was supposed to be off the air by now, but I'm not running away, am I? Number one.
You know what? Let's stall him a little bit longer.
Number one.
I want to see it all.
I'm
let
a
go.
Professional.
Right
I'll
on air.
stay here all freaking day
All
live
right,
on
you
the
know
air.
what? Let's
and
stay.
not
Let's
move.
stay, and let's not go on break. We're gonna go live on Peacock. It's a new marathon now, right here. Here we go.
I didn't move one time during the Oscar show. We were on the air for 8 hours. Didn't move because we were live.
Sounds inefficient as hell, but go ahead.
Really? It's one of the great successes of the past year at Meadowlark.
Really? Damn.
I could verify that. I'll back up Sips.
We are hard up. That was one of the great successes. We are hard up then. My bad.
No one said we were hard up.
No, we're hard up. If one of the great successes was an 8-hour show about the Oscars.
The show was great.
Okay, that was one of the great successes?
I mean, we pulled something off successfully, yes.
That's the bar.
I love it, Tar.
That's the bar.
The bar is getting through a segment without
people-
shitting yourself. Like what? That's the bar.
Apparently so. Go ahead. Wait, look.
We had more people fill out Oscar brackets than filled out March Madness brackets. How about that, Amin?
Where? More people fill out March Madness brackets here?
Yes. No, not
What
as
kind of
employees.
metric is that?
Our audience, Amin, our audience.
Your metrics are weird as hell, but please continue. And watch out for that horn.
Number one.
Don't let it disorient you.
Actual numbers. They're not metrics. I'm not doing calculus.
Number one. Number one.
About time. It's about time for me to get out of this chair.
How old are all of those movies? What's the most recent of those movies?
Those are actually,
Theater Camp was last year.
Those are the
Theater
most
Camp's
recent movies he's ever put on a list.
I was asking because I didn't know. I wasn't asking to be sarcastic.
I shouldn't have shat. He would have known. He would have had an idea if I hadn't taken a dump.
Enough. You know what? Enough.
No,
of
I'm
this.
not going.
No,
I got to sit here and talk shit for the rest. Got to talk all the shit I shat out.
2 minutes for ruining comedy.
Not leaving.
Wait, can I get my list too? I'll be real quick.
No, don't be quick. Adnan, do not be quick.
I want.
Do not be quick.
You're not proving anything by making Samson just sit there. Like you're not proving.
I'm not proving anything. I just want him to be uncomfortable.
I'll go all day.
Number five.
Okay, I'm glad. We're not going off air either.
It is such a pathetic threat. I won't go all day by going all day. I'll go all day and I won't go all day. You are he is staring at us and he is daring us to make him pee. Number 5, Adnan.
The Way Back. The story about a disillusioned teenager stuck with mom's new boyfriend, played by a surprisingly nasty Steve Carell, ends up finding a very endearing Sam Rockwell. It's got water slides. It's got End of Summer. It's a beautiful film. I know, David, you're passionate about The Way Back.
Are you, David? Is that true? When he says, I know you are, he was looking for some chemistry from a broadcast partner. You say that to a broadcast partner and they go, you're right, Adnan, but you were refusing to play along with him. Number 4.
Autumn in New York.
Tony hasn't heard of a movie we've mentioned
What are we
yet.
talking about today?
Tony has not heard of one of these movies. Go ahead, Adnan.
Winona Ryder, Richard Gere, leaves are changing. There's nothing better in New York. It's sweet. It's romantic. It's a wonderful film that I really think captures the greatness of New York in this area at the end of summer. Number 3.
The worst list ever.
Number 3.
It's the worst category.
Dead Poets Society.
Got better.
Oh, Captain, my Captain. I mean, Robin Williams is exhorting his pupils to stand up on chairs. Robert Sean Leonard, a young Ethan Hawke. Who's turning off Dead Poets Society? Robin Williams at his best. Number 2, the list is getting better.
Hold on.
Silver Linings Playbook.
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on.
It's relaxing.
I can't believe the bravery and strength of one David Sampson as he stares down water sounds of all kinds, the sounds of flowing liquids. Nothing can make him pee.
He's sweating, though.
Chris Cote was too busy with the sound effects to give you the fanfare there, Adnan. So mention number 2 again, please.
Sure. Number 2 is Silver Linings Playbook.
Listen, he couldn't press 2 buttons at once.
Yes, that's
what
right.
What does that mean?
That's
You
right.
think I have a water button, David?
It's my fault, Chris. I shouldn't have taken that shit. You
Number.
would've had a water button.
Did you want to say anything about Silver
Yeah, okay,
Linings
let's just about
Playbook?
Silver Linings Playbook. Whimsical romance. It's genuinely funny. It's sweet. It's romantic. Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence won an Academy Award. De Niro at Oscar nominated. It's not just for Eagles fans. I do think it's a great film. And number one, I'll have what she's having. When Harry Met Sally. If I think of end of summer, early fall, I'm picturing Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, and of course Rob Reiner's mom, stealing the scene of that unforgettable scene in Katz's Deli.
Tony, had you heard
Your
of...
list is so off the computer, Adnan. It's incredible.
You don't think that's a great list, David? You don't think those... If I put on When Harry Met Sally right now, you and I would hold hands and watch that movie. We'd love it.
I will not hold hands with you, and it has nothing to do with any sort of homophobia or any proclivities.
wow.
It has to do with my absolute disdain for your your today.
It was just an expression for the unity we would feel together. Tony, that's a good list.
Tony, how do you feel about you've certainly heard of When Harry Met Sally?
Yeah,
yes?
last couple ones from Adnan I heard. I don't think I had ever heard of any of the ones that David said outside of Grease, maybe. Did Grease was on the list?
500 Days of Summer. You never seen 500
500 Days of Summer you never heard of, Tony?
Tony, you're not missing much.
What? Never heard
Very,
of
very
about?
whiny movie.
Oh, you guys are the worst.
Very whiny movie.
As I was mentioning before, Pitch Clock is going to be at the end of this hour, David. But before we get you out of here, and I just want to tell the audience, the Cinephile is Adnan Virk's podcast. You should find that wherever you get your podcast. Nothing Personal is David Sampson's podcast. He reviews a movie every day on his podcast. We were asking while you were storming around calling your agent, the single most interesting storyline in the playoffs, or headed into the baseball playoffs, according to you, is?
The Milwaukee Brewers.
Wow.
They got rid of Craig Counsell. He went to Chicago. We left him. They traded their number one starter, Corbin Burns. Their best player, Christian Yelich, is out for the year. Their closer missed half the year, the first half. And somehow they've got an underage guy who is unstoppable. And the Brewers are in the playoffs, having won the Central when every predictor had them as third place in the Central. I think they're the top story.
Underage guy? What does that mean?
Jackson Churio.
He's
only
20.
Years
20.
old. Yeah.
He's not underage. Remember yesterday, I told you. 20
odd way
homers,
of
20
saying
stolen
it.
bases, 20 years old, the youngest ever.
I
You guys
wasn't.
were so interested in it.
You thought I was listening?
Tony, did he want Samson to be his lawyer?
Good seeing you guys. Thank you, Samson. Yeah, unnecessary Diddy reference. Yeah, just terrible. Just terrible. Truly terrible
Dan,
segment from.
get control of this.
Yeah, sorry, David Sampson and Adnan
Don't
Virk.
send him off yet. He still wants to stay. He said he wants to do this all day.
Yes,
you got to back up. The Oscars were an unqualified success. Give us some backup on that. Come on.
The Oscars were, yes. The Oscars were an unqualified
No,
success.
the Meadowlark, never mind. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Don't move, David. I'm watching. I see you on the Zoom
this
screen.
is the single lamest stare-off I've ever seen. Adnan,
So bad.
Adnan daring David Sampson not to pee, and David Sampson, like, stubbornly and sort of arrogantly not peeing. Just staring straight ahead, showing a meme that he is capable of holding his urine as a 55-year-old adult.
It's an accomplishment, Dan.
56, and it's crap I'm holding.
Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the effort. The Netflix docu-series that starts, speaking of movies, The Starting Five is what it is. And there's this new age in documentaries and in sports documentaries where people are trading access for a bit sanitized stories. I told you that Oprah just bought back her documentary from Apple because she didn't like it. She didn't like, and I'm sure there's stuff in there that she did not like, and she wanted it out of there. And when they refused to do it, she's like, okay, I want my documentary rights back then.
That's because she's an executive producer on her own story. And that's why, right? She has that control. It's not like Apple said, we're doing this documentary about Oprah. And Oprah said, oh, I'm very honored and flattered. And then said, wait, you guys want to ask me about that? Never mind, take that out. It's because it's her project that she's able to do that. She's able to buy it back, right? And so this gets to the heart of why many of these documentaries are compromised, right? Because they, in order for the access to happen, they are giving executive producer titles, which gives control and credit to the subject. But in many of these cases, it's not even that. It's the subject that's saying, I want to do a documentary about myself. That's even a higher level of compromise, if you will, that I can say, hey, I got a great idea for a documentary. Oh, what is it about? It's about me. And if you're Apple or one of these studios, you're like, well, Oprah moves units. We know this. Oprah has a touch of gold. So it's like, yeah, I want to be involved with Oprah. I also want to do a good job of this. But you've ceded any control of any sort. And so that's where we find ourselves.
What are you expecting from starting five? It's Anthony Edwards, it's Jimmy Butler, it's Jason Tatum, it's Sabonis, and it's LeBron James.
He buried the lead.
Domantas Sabonis.
I'll tell you what I expect. I expect it's produced by Uninterrupted, and it's about LeBron James. So I don't expect anything to be insightful in any way. Much like, we talked about a couple of weeks ago, the Russell Westbrook documentary. I don't think it was necessarily bad, but I just thought it was toothless. And actually, I did learn something from the Russell Westbrook documentary. That I learned that this player, this guy that everyone told me for years, doesn't care about what anyone says. He lives his own life. He does his own thing by his own rules and all that. And I believed that. I used to believe that about Russ. And then I watched that documentary, and the cacophony of three voices: Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, and Colin Cowherd, tells me he's listening all the time to those three people, and he is in a prison of the reaction to what those three voices are saying. When Russell Westbrook is ornery towards the media, he's not ornery towards Darnell Mayberry, who was a beat writer for a long time in Oklahoma City, or Royce Young, or any of these guys. He's ornery about what the three biggest voices were saying about him and applying it across all the entire landscape. And so inadvertently, I learned that Russell Westbrook kind of is sensitive about what's said about him, even though he told us otherwise. Steph Curry's documentary, also very not good, not interesting at all. But what I learned is Steph Curry apparently does not want people to think of him as a silver spooner. He does not want the world. They never mentioned one time, my dad played in the NBA. They never mentioned one time, my mom was a high-level D1 athlete. It was all about the little guy who couldn't, and I tried. And it tells me something, the omission, the things they did not talk about in the documentary, tells me a lot about, like, oh, this must be how you feel about stuff. So we're going to learn some stuff, not what they want us to learn. What they want us to learn is going to be some banal, corny, vanilla stuff, but we'll learn by what they omit.
I was interested in my reaction to, I'm more excited about this basketball documentary than I have been for quarterback, receivers. Like, football's bigger in this country. I get more excited for football on Sundays than I do for NBA games, but for some reason I'm more interested in Anthony Edwards, Jimmy Butler, LeBron James than I am in Amon-Ra St. Brown and Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what I'm doing there, but I saw that preview for basketball, and maybe it's the mask, the helmets. I just feel like I know these players more. Maybe it's because I have my connections to LeBron and Jimmy that it excites me, but I'm more excited about this doc than all those football ones.
That's exactly it, is these personalities already a little bit, so you know a little bit what to expect. I don't expect to learn anything revelatory in this, but I don't think they've really pitched it as like this exploratory documentary. It's a series. We're just following along with what the season was and getting some fun tidbits we didn't get in live game coverage. So to me, it's just something to complement the storytelling we've already had, not necessarily discover something new.
In the quarterback, wide receiver one that we've been doing, like, it's weird because they're just kind of boring. So you're hoping that in this stage, in this other basketball one, that they're not going to be boring, maybe?
You were objecting to Sabonis. You didn't like him in this group.
It's not that I didn't like him. It's just like, how did he get that?
It does fall out of the sky.
What a gig for him.
It's like, wow, we got the top
DEI.